Good evening, everybody. It's Heather from Twitter, from both Alive in Me and Epilepsy Cures. I'm sitting here, you might be hearing some jingling in the background. We're in Arizona here and we're having our normal monsoon season. It's going a little wacky out there, so if you're getting some interruption with some jingles, I apologize. Um, Tonight I'm just getting to just kind of give you a little briefing on how my epilepsy went higher during my pregnancy. I grew up with it, like I said, as a child, so I've had it for 31 years. Um, they were called atypical absence seizures back then, which was probably kind of funny. Um, they're just not the same as today's absence seizures. So I used to get a decent aura for it. I was a gymnast for 12 years, so I was able to get off the balance beam in time to have the seizure. And I was just staring out, but I was there consciously for the whole seizure. Um, but I wasn't able to speak. Um, a- and I really, I couldn't function much, but I had to just be still. It was interesting. Deal is that I love hormones as I got older and stress. Stress was a huge factor as well. Um, I had a very rocky marriage and we went through a lot in the very beginning. And so that stress kind of added to it. So I had some in between issues in my early 20s, but then God blessed us, not planning, but blessed us with this beautiful child, as I said earlier, Tori, who today actually has epilepsy as well. I'm going to actually introduce you to her tomorrow. She's all excited. So, um, she is just a blessing to have, and it was worth every moment and every seizure. The story behind it is that it's amazing how God watched over her through so much of it because the seizures I had when she was so tiny, I remember one complex partial seizure and I was holding her and she was only 3 weeks old and I dropped her and her little, it was on a pretty decently hard floor. And, there's always the wonders. We can sit here as parents and ask, did I cause it? Was it caused because I have epilepsy? Was it caused because I dropped her? But, no matter what, God has a plan for everything for us, and we can turn everything that we have for His glory as long as we don't dwell in it. We have our moments that we can have our tough times, but here we can turn around and we can help others and we can converse with others and we can feel each other's pain because there's so much pain out there, not just epilepsy, there's tons out there, and it's not just all illness either. Um, Tori was present for so many seizures, still is today, and she has her own, but I'll never forget when actually prior her even being born, when I first was being awakened that my seizures were changing. She was in my belly, and that's when the hormones hit, and I had no idea that was going to happen. And I was driving, my friend was next to me, and I just drove right through a red light, had no idea that that was going on. And I just unbuckled, said, Maggie, take the car, because I realized what happened. It just, it's twice as scary when there's a baby inside you. And from that point on, my doctor that I wound up having to see in Alabama wasn't a doctor that specialized in epilepsy, I found out. So what he thought would be simplistic wound up being very complicated in my perspective, and my seizures were just out of this world. And afterwards went really crazy after I had my child for hormones, and he had up my dosage of phenobarb so high that afterwards, when I went through some very stressful times, I was beaten by my ex actually after my first brain surgery. Um, at a wonderful clinic, by the way. I had that done at Mayo Hospital here in Phoenix, Arizona. Amazing surgery. Um, when you get stress like that, it's going to bring on just more seizures. And it was just unbelievable, what my daughter has been around but doesn't even realize. But beside the point, that kind of stress can bring on a lot of seizures as well. Um, Wound up having overdose issues from being introduced to a high dose of phenobarbital and then being beaten. And I got into this overdosing issue. And so that drug, which would be actually a drug that would totally take care of my seizures today, I can't take because it's an addiction. And when you're addicted, you need to stay away from it. Especially when you have a family. I'm just saying, especially in general. But it was very scary. I almost lost my life. And I'll never forget those days. You know, Going 85 down to 40. And my heart goes out to my child, but she was totally watched over by Jesus through the whole thing. And and that's what and that's why I'm still here today, is actually because of Jesus. And from that point on is when everything changed. We started changing my medicines and trying everything out, and I've been on every single one. Went through a second brain surgery. It was phenomenal. Um, my senses that I used to have, that if I would smell lotion would bring on seizures. If I had that same lotion during a seizure time, music, if I listened to certain music during seizure time would be on, I would have seizures. So memories are really a big part of my seizures, but that part of the brain was taken out with the in-depth electrodes. This time around, I'm going on my third brain surgery, and they're going to be doing actually gridding on the frontal lobe and the left temporal lobe, more of the area. And I'm going to have that MEG done too, so maybe they won't have to do the drilling on the right side. But I'm totally excited. My daughter has seen so much. She saw me have, a very large grand mal seizure when she was 2 years old, and she just sat there, and for 4 hours I was out because she was on my lap. I was reading her a book, and I just had a huge seizure, and there I hit my head. I had this huge bruise, and I woke up to her just crying and crying and pointing and pointing. And we all go through these things. It's tough times. And I just remember being so sad. I was just like, I was just wanting to cuddle and calm her. My words couldn't come out yet. They couldn't come out yet. But once they could, I mean, I was so thankful to Jesus. Um, but she was so precious through it all. She just is one amazing child, and she's seen so many, and she still does today. And being the fact that, yes, she's also an epilepsy advocate. She speaks so well. She actually spoke in front of her second grade class all on her own, even without me there, just about what epilepsy does in her life. And I was so proud to hear that from her teacher. So just, don't hold your kids back if you're a parent of one. Be careful, but don't hold them back. Reach out and just let them know that they're normal, because otherwise they get very introverted. You gotta be out there and just know that you're very normal. It's just, you know what? There's a special gift in a way that you're given, and you're able to reach out and help other people through all different types of circumstances. And that's one of the big things, is the heart. And circumstances is just amazing, because all circumstances we should always just love each other no matter what. And do we? No, but we should always try. One of my favorite verses I came across tonight, actually from 1 Timothy 6, was, "But godliness with contentment is great gain." Godliness with contentment is great gain. We need to be content. We need to have faith, and we need to love each other. And with that faith, we're just truly alive, and we're able to keep our focus on being well, and that'll help our illness, um, and help us from not seizing. So just take a deep breath and know that there are others out there, and I'm here to help. So just connect with me over on Twitter, Epilepsy Cures. And God bless you all. And I hope you have a great night. Blessings.